I am Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susie.
And we're paranormal specialists who live in the most haunted city on earth, Savannah, Georgia. Every day is Halloween in our line of work, so join us as we spin true tales of haunts, murders, and disturbing Savannah history. I'm Madison.
I'm Chris.
And welcome to the most haunted city on earth.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the most haunted city on earth. My name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susie.
And I'm JT Timmons.
And today we are going to be bringing you another ghost mail. Ghost mail.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ghost mail.
Yes. And from the last episode, JT has now been fixed slightly for his ankle situation.
I was like, what?
I've been fixed.
You're not going to have children?
No.
I've been fixed.
Who knows?
My father-in-law would shoot me dead.
Yeah.
We didn't mention it in the last episode.
Did we not?
Nope.
I thought we did.
Oh, well,
did
now
not.
you know.
Well,
He
now
was
you
damaged.
know. Yeah, JT is damaged goods.
Yeah, I fell off a ladder. I'm good. I got a little tear. Got a little tear in my foot and in the muscle, and then a high ankle sprain. It's pretty bad, but we're cooking with grease up in here, so it's fine.
So
Only
now
the pair junkies knew.
Yeah.
That's why.
Oh, okay.
That.
I for some reason thought we mentioned it at the top of the episode, but now you can go back and know that an hour before we filmed that, JT was on
episode.
the ground.
Yeah, we have to do the Zillow episode with you, Chris, because
was
this
so much
Zillow
fun.
episode was insane. You would have had a great time.
Oh, I love watching any Zillow. There's a woman who has a child named Ham who does it. Who's like, is the price worth the haunt? Where she breaks down like scary residences on Zillow or that are up for sale.
Wow,
That's cool.
And
that is
like,
very cool.
Is like
Yeah.
ugh.
So we're definitely doing that. The pair junkies when we were live streaming it, they loved it. And we loved it. It was great. All right, cool. Yeah. So, but I'm good. We're good.
Yes. So now you know. You can watch that back and just know JT was busted. So, but anywho,
You can actually see me like 10 minutes in. I moved my foot and you could see my face just like scrunch in horrific pain. And
like,
I'm just
"This is
trying to
great."
hide it as best I can.
yeah,
But you could say that he was being haunted
by his own mistakes.
Like getting on a ladder in the rain.
Yeah.
It was Jingles.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Jingles
it
shook
could-
the ladder.
It could have been.
Yeah.
Very well could have been.
Jingles.
Also, if you're wondering why we have soaps in front of us, in
Oh,
the
yeah.
fix that we just filmed, one of our parajunkies, Melissa, actually made these for
For those
us.
of you who are just listening and not watching the video, we have soap in front of us.
Yes. They're little foaming hand soaps, and she
They're
made
very
these.
cool.
And they are Haunted City podcast themed. So we have Parajunkie, we've got Batrick and Squonk Tears.
That's so cool.
We're hoping that maybe we can get Melissa to make a few more of these and maybe sell them in the museum, which would be super cool.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Awesome.
And we have had an influx of new pair junkies. We want to thank everyone who joined in the last month. It's been amazing because we announced everyone's really pumped for the multiple ghost hunts we have coming up on the night of June 25th. We are doing an overnight of the Tondi's Tavern building that's now Bubba Garcia's. It's a very, very old building.
Yes.
It's almost 200 years old where some really horrific things have happened inside of it. And then the next month that's the 29th, I believe, we are going to be investigating the Rylander Theater in Americus, Georgia. Both of those locations we have locked down for overnights.
Stay
Parajunkies.
overnight in the haunted hotel there. There's a very haunted hotel
In Americus?
in America.
I might hit them up then.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
I might hit them up then.
Trying to remember what the name.
But yeah, so it's gonna be awesome.
Yes. And because of that, we want to thank those new para-junkies. So we want to thank Rhea, Aris, Beth Palmer, Madam V, and Regina.
Yes,
so
thank you.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Yeah, we have a lot of fun stuff going on. We just did our first night of the Haunted City Cinema Club, which was fun. Sleepaway Camp.
Classic. An absolute classic subversive slasher film.
Well, yeah, it's the perfect way to start your summer.
Yes, because it takes place at a summer camp.
Exactly. So there you go.
Yes, my entry was Blood Hook.
Yes, JT wanted Blood Hook.
Blood Hook is one of my favorite movies, believe it or not. It's not my favorite, but it's probably top 20. Because killing people with a massive fishing lure because it's the I don't want to hold on.
Don't spoil it. But
never mind. But yes,
I mean the name is Blood Hook, so you should be able to at least piece together
exactly
that much.
My recommendation was Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which is a phenomenal movie.
Fantastic movie,
perfect film,
wonderful, and it's that lovely popcorn horror.
Yes,
where it's like you're not. It's no consequence. Just enjoy it.
Yes.
I guess mine was Gator. Is that right?
No,
Hatchet.
Which
Hatchet's
is also a
such an
phenomenal
incredible-
movie.
Hatchet is it was like a reinvigoration of the slasher genre because it was made independent of all the other slashers because it was not necessarily an imitation. It was just something all of its own. And there were a couple out there. There's like the Gipper was one, and there were a couple that were like, we're going to make a slasher movie that isn't attached to Jason or Michael or any of those things. And it was I think Hatchet was probably one of the more successful ones.
And it's fantastic. It's just a fun slasher, truly.
It really is. Ashley said, I don't know if I should let Jameson watch it because he's leaving for summer camp this Saturday. Actually, it's the perfect time to watch that.
No.
Yes.
Don't do that to him.
No,
He's still a baby.
It's I would say it's not age appropriate for anyone under the age of 14.
I would agree
say
with that.
14 is probably the age that I would be comfortable suggesting someone watch it.
When I was young, this has something to do with it. When I was young, in my early teens, I had a little sister. I have a little sister named Lainey, and she was 2 years younger than me at the time, and still.
She's still 2 years.
She's still 2 years younger than me.
She
I don't know
hadn't
why
caught up
I'm
yet?
saying this in past tense.
Yeah.
Yes, she's doing great. Definitely not dead. So basically, I would act like I unlocked all the doors in the house when mom and dad were on their date nights and stuff, and I would turn on like super horrifying movies like The Strangers, and she would think that and I'd open all the windows. That's another thing. Open
You're
all the
so
windows
mean.
because it's about the environment also. You know,
No, this is about being an older sibling tormenting your younger sibling.
absolutely.
And she's still
And
traumatized.
I am the younger sibling, so I know exactly what that's about.
yeah, she is traumatized.
She's still traumatized by this, mind you.
I
So-
do regret it. I do regret
Do you?
He says with a big grin on his face.
You still
I
do it to her.
I do. I do.
He
I do
used to
regret
scratch on her door at night
it. I did.
and
I would do that.
tell her that the Grinch was in the corner of her room.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would.
You're
because she
so
was always so
mean.
scared of the Grinch.
Yeah.
There was some scary imagery involved with the Grinch.
Very.
The live action
The
where he's
live
like up
action
in
one.
the wall.
That's
and
it.
It's
Yes.
like,
She
that's very
hated
scary.
that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, all right.
So there you go. Now you know what kind of sibling JT was.
But we
growing
got.
up.
I think they all knew. So yeah, we are going to jump into some ghost mail. Here we go.
All right. Ooh, boo.
Woo!
Nice.
Ghost mail has its own lights.
Yes. Which is fun. JT really gets into it.
We got Industrial Light and Magic to do that for us.
Yes.
So we're very excited.
Exactly. Well, all right. So our first one comes from Kendra, and it starts with, "Hello, my name is Kendra. I'm 24 years old, and I love you guys." Thank you very much, Kendra. Hashtag Chris fangirl. Hashtag ghost heroine. So you really made an impression, Chris.
There you go.
He's now been reminded of this twice in an hour. So yeah, we're really just reminding Chris of his blackout rants.
Yeah, if I speak more than 3 sentences, I'm not paying attention. So,
So there you go. Anyways, I just started listening to you guys last July, and I've been hooked ever since. I'm still catching up on all your episodes, and I even subscribe to your YouTube. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Subscribe to YouTube if you haven't.
Yes, we appreciate that.
We go hard on YouTube.
We do go hard on YouTube. I seriously love you guys. I live in Massachusetts, and ever since I was...
Wait 1 second, y'all. Right when you said YouTube, we just got a YouTube comment.
I don't like the synchronicities.
Like it literally, my phone just came up as you said YouTube. I looked over, it was a YouTube comment. Weird. Anyway, all right.
I hate synchronicities like that.
Synchronicities
Oh my
are
God.
weird.
All right. So I live in Massachusetts, and ever since I was young, I have always loved all things spooky. And coming from a super religious family, it was not really allowed. Everything apparently was the devil, LOL, but nowadays they are more open and understanding. Anyways, I have always been more spiritual, but ever since I started listening to you guys, it has confirmed all the things I was in denial about.
Oh, wow.
What I was in denial about was being gifted. I've always been sensitive. I can pick up on every emotion, every presence, and every sound that is around me. I cannot see what is great, because I don't want to see. But if you allow me to feel your most strongest emotions that you are feeling or felt, I can see what triggered that emotion. That's actually a really cool gift.
Mm-hmm. Empathy.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm hypersensitive, which is hard sometimes because I can sometimes get confused between what's my emotion and what's someone else's emotion, or something's emotion, and carry it. I can also hear things that are not there. Yeah, spooky, LOL. Anyways, enough about that. When I was younger, we used to live in the second floor in an apartment building, and the owners lived in the first floor. It was an elderly couple that were the most kindest, gentle, caring people ever. Addie and Mr. Levine were like our babysitter / family in a way. They baked us cookies, watched old movies, and showed my brother and I pictures from when they were younger. Unfortunately, Addie died after 8 years of us living there, and we all went to the wake. Obviously, every once in a while, little things would happen, like chairs being pushed in, the smell of cigarettes, and pictures being knocked off the walls. For some reason, I always knew it was Addie. Addie has such a big personality. She hated us putting holes in her wall, and she smoked cigarettes all the time. Mr. Levine never smoked. I would tell my parents this, and they would tell me that that's not true. She's in heaven. When I got to my teens, I was obsessed with rock, and I would put my band posters on the walls, and Addie hated it, as a true grandmother would. When I would come home from school, all my posters would be on the ground. So every day before going to school, I would yell out, "Addie, I love you, but don't touch my posters." And I would come home, and my posters were not touched. One day, a group of friends came over after school, and we were sitting on my bed. They were complimenting my posters. I thanked them and said, "Yeah, but Addie hates them." They asked who's Addie and why. I explained to them who Addie is and why she doesn't, and that the huge poster of Motionless in White. I understand why she doesn't like that. That's to somebody who doesn't like that type of music, that would be jarring. But nonetheless, so she didn't like the Motionless in White poster above my bed, and that is the one she hates the most. They were a little freaked out, but we continued talking. Soon after, maybe 5 minutes, the same poster falls on top of my two friends' heads. They screamed and ran out of my room.
Oh boy!
I started laughing and told Addie to stop. Years later, we don't live there anymore, and my family and I have moved into our house. I've always been able to know things or ask for help in my life and would be granted because my angels and spirit guides. They would put the things in my life to prepare me, and then when it happens, I would know what to do with the guidance of my angels. My parents now let me ward our house and are not freaked out, LOL. I've always been witchy, and I'm very fortunate to have Latino parents accepting of my witchy side and letting me protect them the way I know I can. My Mexican roots are connected to Santeria because my grandmother still practices, but with her Christian faith. When my mom married my dad, he forbid it in our house and my upbringing, but ever since a evil witch put a spell on him and tried cursing him, my grandmother and her poster brought him back and cleared him. He now understands that this is real and there is a side of good and evil when it comes to witchy things. If you guys would like to talk about that, let me know.
Absolutely.
I would love to hear that
Yeah.
story. Please send that.
That's an amazing story.
Thank you for listening for my long message. So sorry if I repeated myself in any way. Love you. #ghost heroin.
Noise.
I love it. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to hear that your family is a little bit more accepting of it. And I think that happens sometimes, especially with people who have abilities that end up affecting those around them in some manner where they can't ignore it after a point.
Oh, right.
You kind of have to face the fact of like, okay, am I going to acknowledge these things that are happening or am I going to push them away? So good for you for keeping on with that. And I love the story of Addie. That's the cutest little, I love a little ghost grandma that's not lingering in the corner of your room to scare you.
No.
But instead,
Actively disapproving of your music choices.
I mean, listen, maybe Addie just needed to listen to it a little more. Maybe. But I get it. Motionless and White, they have a scary aesthetic for those who don't listen to metal. But, you know, I think that's sweet. And I think it's sweet that, you know, that was her way of showing you that she was still with you and thinking about you and also kind of grandma-ing you. Yeah. I love it. I think it's a great story.
And this also addresses one of the things that comes up many times when we get letters or when we talk to people is the notion that there's a prevalent fear in expressing your gifts because the general consensus is only crazy people see things that aren't there, hear things that aren't there. You know, only, and I cannot tell you literally how many times a ghost story starts with, "You're going to think I'm crazy,"
right?
Or "This is crazy," and it's because we've conditioned ourselves to believe that there's a socially acceptable level of boogity boogity that we're allowed to engage with, and anything beyond that is some kind of mental disorder. So, you know, hopefully people who are listening to this are getting a good idea that no, it's perfectly normal, it's perfectly natural, even though we call it supernatural, it's perfectly natural to have these encounters, and that you shouldn't feel ostracized or isolated, but, you know, and that there are communities that you can reach out to. There are always going to be people who have experiences like yours. Now, that is not to say trust everybody who comes at you all woo-woo like.
That's true.
You have to realize that it is just like any other field. There are going to be jerks, and there are going to be good people, and the jerks are looking to take advantage of you. And it's very easy to do in this field to take advantage of people, to lead them on, you know, wild goose chases or promise things that they cannot deliver. We've seen a lot of people pay a lot of money to hear from the other side. And so that's a case where people can prey on your hope and prey on your desperation. So just, you know, stay conscious of it all, but know that there are people who will support you.
Absolutely. And I'm glad to hear that you're also taking the measures to kind of learn how to work with your own abilities, because I definitely know how you feel on that one, because like it gets to a point with your abilities where you kind of have to, or it's going to be out of control. And so I'm glad to hear that you're learning more on the witchcraft side of things, using your abilities for the ways that you want to use them, but not necessarily let them just run rampant. So good for you. But yeah, send us that story, Kendra, please.
Yes, absolutely.
I am dying to hear about your dad's hex, I guess, curse.
Yeah, curse.
But all right. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure.
All right. So our next one is from Kayla B. And it says, "Hey, Madison, Chris, and JT. Kayla B writing in all the way from Austin, Texas.
Cool.
Love Austin. Great city. I know Frenchie has a son that lives in Austin. So we have some other Austinites.
I think it is. I think it's
Austinites.
Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong about that one. That sounds right, though. So I myself have not had any ghostly experiences, which I'm grateful for, because I fully believe I'd have a heart attack if I were to ever see anything. LOL. But I'd like to tell y'all about some of my family's experiences from when we were living in my childhood home. This is a long one, so buckle up. I like details. Let's do it. All right. So this was a duplex in a small town in Texas called Elgin. We lived in both sides of this duplex, and they all had experiences in both. We'll start with the first side. Living there was myself, my grandparents, my mom, and my infant brother. I was about 8 years old, so I don't really remember having any creepy feelings or ever seeing anything. My family says nothing too crazy happened on this side either, other than hearing pots and pans falling and then going into the kitchen and find nothing on the floor. And then my grandma feeling something push her down the stairs.
Oof.
Hold on. That sounds crazy.
Yeah.
That's not like diet haunting.
Yeah, no, that's full on.
That's malicious.
That's pushing grandma down the...
Call the priest.
Yeah. Don't push grandma down the stairs, ghost. That's not ever a good sign. Now I know I said nothing too crazy. Okay. This happened, and that is kind of crazy, LOL, but it gets crazier. The second side, I was about 10 or 11, so my memory is a little better, and I do remember always having this eerie feeling on the stairs. I always felt like the girl from The Grudge was running behind me anytime I went up or down them. That sounds awful. The second floor was the creepiest part of the whole house, and of course, that was where my room was, along with my grandparents' room and the full bathroom. I hated how quiet the bathroom felt up there and would end up bringing my giant boombox-like radio in there with me so I wouldn't be in silence while showering. I still have to play something while I shower to this day. We don't like no bathroom ghosts.
No bathroom ghosts.
No bathroom ghosts.
I am a firm advocate of no shenanigans in the bathroom.
No shenanigans.
I do not appreciate it.
And so...
you should get a bathroom sword.
You should, or an axe.
Yeah.
Either one.
Yeah.
We have
You have a bathroom sword and we have a bathroom axe.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's right.
That sounds about right for
That's
this podcast.
correct.
Yeah.
The second floor was the creepiest part. My grandparents' room and the closet in my room always had a weird vibe to me. But again, no significant experiences for myself. In the side of the duplex was everyone who was mentioned before, but my uncle and younger cousin came to live with us as well. Their stories are in no particular order, so I'll just list them out. The first one, my cousin saw glowing red eyes in a coat closet downstairs. The second one, my mom would always hear mama behind her at night while on her computer, back turned to the door, and would turn around to no one there. My brother would be asleep in his bed next to her, and she'd come check my room upstairs where I'd also be asleep. Number 3, my mom would walk into the kitchen and all the cabinets would be open.
Oh.
Number 4, my grandpa saw a little girl in a white dress, brown hair, run down the stairs and into the downstairs bedroom and thought it was me or my cousin, but went to check and no one was in the room. Everyone was outside at the time.
Gosh. This is a haunted house, y'all.
It's a very haunted
Straight up
duplex.
haunted house. This is that's the checklist of like, I'm going to make a haunted movie. Let's see, red eyes in the closet, check. Little girl running down the stairs, check. Mama, turn around, no one's there, check.
Yeah, literally. Number 5, my grandma had an owl brooch sitting on the dresser next to her TV, and it flew off onto the floor. She picked it up, put it back, and it flew off again. She ended up moving it somewhere else because obviously the spirit didn't like it there.
Interesting.
And 6, both of my grandparents were woken up to a baby crying outside their bedroom door, thinking my brother crawled up the stairs in the middle of the night. They opened the door and nothing was there. And number 7, my brother, older now, saw the reflection of a little girl in his TV. So that's super creepy. Okay, we will discuss in a second. Let's finish this out, though. When all of this was going on, a cop and his wife moved into the first side of the duplex, and as neighbors do, they introduced themselves to my grandparents and mom. After a few encounters, they ended up telling them that they were having experiences too. The cops said they'd have their granddaughter over and she'd be upstairs arguing with someone, and they'd ask her who she was talking to, and she'd say, the girl. One day, she came about halfway down the stairs and looked towards the top, pointing her finger angrily, saying, I'm never playing with you again.
Oof.
He said something also pushed his wife down the stairs, just like my grandma.
What?
No.
I had chill bumps. That's crazy.
That's super creepy.
They ended up moving out shortly after that. We stayed in that house until I was a freshman in high school, and I still never experienced anything. Again, very thankful, LOL. But my family was always very open about anything that happened, so maybe they fed my fear of the second floor. Or maybe I just felt the energy instead of being able to see it. Either way, that house definitely left its mark on myself and my family, and it's still a memory we all visit from time to time when we're talking about spooky things. My family has a history of living in haunted houses, so maybe I can write in about those times too.
Absolutely. Please do.
Yes. Thanks for reading. I'd love to hear what you guys think. I love the pod, and I'm looking forward to all the amazing content y'all have planned for us. Hopefully I can make it to the museum soon. Love y'all and stay spooky.
Nice.
Wow.
That is crazy, especially because
It was cinematic in scope, too.
Yes.
It really was. Those are all very clear and terrifying ghostly activity, you know, right down to all the cabinets being open. That's hyper classic, poltergeist activity.
right.
It was happening to the whole family.
And the neighbors.
And the
And the
neighbors.
neighbors. It makes you wonder, what do those types of hauntings do to families, right? Like how does it change their perspective on death and and how they all operate, at 2 a.m. when they're just going down to get a glass of water?
Exactly.
Well, my guess is that to a certain degree, everyone who had this encounter was on a path of acceptance anyway, because
Yeah,
everything that was happening was so cut and dry. This is what's happening, that it gives you and should give you a level of clarity on the idea that, well, we're not alone, that there is something more to it, and the unknown aspect of any haunting gives you enough room to grow spiritually, to really question what you do believe and what you don't believe, and things like not seeing. There are a lot of people who've had experiences, but they've never seen, or they don't categorize it as an experience because they're so nervous about how they would react.
Sure.
And it's possible that you're defending yourself, that something inside you is giving you protection. Your dread or fear of being suddenly just beset upon by a ghost might be a protection against the ghost. The reason why you don't see them is because you've created a very strong boundary. And that boundary is that fear, I'm going to have a heart attack, that notion. And because you can't override that, by the way. You can say, I want to see a ghost, I want to see a ghost, I want to see a ghost.
Yes.
But you can't change how you actually feel. Like you somewhere deep down, you're like, no, I don't.
No, I don't want to
You
say
are
that.
wrong when you say that.
Exactly. And funny. So when we do these ghost mails, like we always say, we don't pick them out of order for themes or anything. We just go as they come in.
Yes.
But Mylea made a connection. She said, "What's with the grandmas and ghosts having beef?"
Yeah.
Applejacks too.
Yeah.
What's with the ghost grudges against grandma?
Yeah.
We amazingly seem to always
Yeah.
curate stories that have common threads and common themes. And it must be just the cyclic nature of telling these stories. You know, I've always been amazed, like when we'll get like 3 Hatman stories in a row. It's just like, that's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah. My theory, though, on the haunting in your houses, I feel like it's the same spirit that's
absolutely,
presenting in a number of different ways. And it has full domain of both sides of this house. So, because
Yeah, it may not be as location restricted as you think.
Right.
Because the concept of being on the stairs, the fact of, and it seems to be a little girl. It seems to be that the little girl is the primary ghost, and little children ghosts do not have nearly as many restrictions.
Right.
Because they were not raised yet to have an idea of the proper behavior.
boundaries.
Boundaries, right, exactly.
Yeah. And that would be my theory on it, especially because everybody's having such similar experiences. It would be odd if it was a number of ghosts or entities doing the same thing over and over again. You know what I mean? It would make more sense if it's just one entity being like, I'm going to go do this today.
Right.
She's going down the stairs.
Right.
You know, but nonetheless.
Which also makes you wonder if one of the tragedies of the house was an accidental
falling
down the stairs, like a daughter accidentally, tripping her mother down the stairs. That could be the kind of traumatic event that would really stain the area, because it does seem to be this sort of mischievous spirit, but it could just be a repeated tragedy that is going over and over again.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's a great story, though. Like Chris said, very cinematic, super fun. Yeah, and if you want to send more of those stories that your family has as well in the other houses, it sounds like your family loves to be haunted. Not by choice, but is but it just has a knack for being haunted. So I'm sure those stories are fantastic as well. But thank you so much for sending it in, Kayla. We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so this next one comes from Paige, JJ, and Biscuit.
Biscuit.
Yes.
What is Biscuit?
I think
I'm hoping
Biscuit's
Biscuit's a pet.
I think Biscuit's a dog.
You get a photo of Biscuit?
There was not a photo of Biscuit. So, Paige, JJ, please send a photo of Biscuit.
Yes.
That is.
And also, if Biscuit's your child, cute name.
Yes.
Yes.
That is cute.
Yeah, right.
We're saying there, it's a dog.
Biscuit.
Biscuit.
But, all right. So, this email was titled 1910 New York Home Definitely May Be Haunted.
Definitely maybe
Definitely,
haunted.
maybe.
I like that. All right. Hello. I think I have a story that may interest you. I became a listener roughly a year ago when my husband and I planned on visiting Savannah. I was looking for a podcast about unique Savannah history, and I'm a big fan of supernatural horror, so y'all scratch my itch. Great.
Cool.
So do we. Despite my hobbies, I have never really believed in ghosts. Supernatural horror has always been a form of escapism for me. And until recently, my husband and I have spent our movie nights watching every horror movie we possibly can.
Huzzah.
Huzzah.
Woo.
We also do that. That's always a good time. I have a particular fondness for found footage. Excellent choice. No matter how silly it gets. My husband, JJ, comes from a religious background and has always believed in the supernatural. His parents are both Catholic, and his mother has repeatedly said a ghost wanders their house. Now, I lived in this house for 2 years, and neither I nor my father-in-law have ever saw any ghosts. In fact, of all the houses in the world, I think that one in particular is likely the least haunted. JJ has had night terrors his entire life. I don't mean silly little things where he mumbles quietly in his sleep, although that does happen. No, this man bolts out of bed and wanders around the house looking for demons, ghosts, and intruders.
Oh, wow.
It's rather alarming, actually, but I've grown used to it. We've been together for 8 years, and he's always seeing ghosts or shadows out of the corner of his eye. Having listened to your podcast for a while, I'm going to take a stance you'll disagree with. JJ is not sensitive. He has a sleep disorder that he refuses to address, which is valid.
Absolutely.
That is always a realm of possibility.
And I want to say that we will always tend towards supernatural because that's the nature of the podcast. But in daily practice, you should always seek professional help when
Right.
like that should always be a part of your structure when things are getting out of hand, because there are many things that present
Right.
as supernatural, right down to like if you have faulty wiring in your house, the EMF that is coming out of the faulty wiring can cause delusions, headaches, blurred vision, hallucinations. All those things can be a result of bad wiring. And what makes that especially fun is if you're using like a K2 meter, it's going to go off like crazy. And you're like, see? But it might also be you've got a leak of
Right.
electromagnetic energy causing all kinds of disorientation. So we are quick to agree with the supernatural, but we also should always have some kind of, disclaimer, which is seek professional help.
Yeah.
If you're having like true issues like sleep disorder that is, interrupting your
Life.
health,
Yeah.
you should seek out help.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so ADHD and sleep disorders often coexist with each other, and it's something that I'm trying to research while in my master's for social work. That's
there you
actually
go.
super interesting. Cool. I, on the other hand, grew up with very little religion, or too much, depending on your views. My father was disillusioned with the Mormon church before I was born and was excommunicated for marrying my mother, a Baptist. From childhood to adulthood, my father has been looking for one true religion. He cycled so often between every sect of Christianity, other Abrahamic religions and Dharmic religions that I became a little numb to spirituality. After a handful of traumatizing events as a teenager, I started to become more spiritual. At 18, I chose to be baptized at a non-denominational church. Though my father has never found peace with any God, I have found peace with mine.
Excellent.
That's excellent. Good for you. Given my interests in other or differing spirituality, JJ and I debate about ghosts and demons often. When we met way back in the ancient age of 2017.
The pre-times.
Oh, yes.
The before era.
The before. We made a deal. If anything spooky happened or started to go awry, we would seek help immediately. I guess you'll see how well that deal held up. In August of 2024, we moved into a new home in Westchester, New York. It was built in 1910 and appears to be an original kit home.
Oh, sure.
Because I am married to a superstitious man and the home is old, I ran a report to make sure no one died in the home before moving in. There are no official reports of death occurring in the home, and it's quite lovely. We still have the original stained glass door. I have an autoimmune disease that was getting difficult to manage, and our dog Biscuit is 10 years old.
Good call.
Nice. The two of us were growing weary of Manhattan and therefore a growing burden on JJ. This house was perfect for us, or it was anyway. That's how it always goes with horror movies,
Dun,
too.
dun, dun.
It's taken longer than I care to admit to piece it all together, and I admit I'm a bit embarrassed. Written out like this, it seems things seem a lot clearer, but at the time, it was one or two odd things that were so easy to shrug off. Looking back, there is a clear timeline of where things started to get a bit strange. And that's the thing. Hindsight is 20/20. You can't judge your reaction in the present moment because you're not going to know how things are going to play out.
Not to mention, our coping mechanisms are so well developed that when you're dealing with things like piece by piece, one by one,
right,
you cope with them piece by piece, one by one, and you don't necessarily put them all together because once you've coped with it, you can say, I've dealt with that.
Exactly.
I've dealt with this strange thing. I've dealt with this strange thing. And it isn't until you're knee deep in it that you suddenly realize, oh, it's a big thing. It's not all these little things. It's actually some large thing. So, yeah, it's funny because, always in retrospect, you're like, oh, I should have seen it. It's like, not necessarily.
Yeah, you didn't know. And it makes more sense once you get all the pieces to the puzzle. But when you just get the first initial piece, you're going to be like, well, I don't know where this goes. Like, you know what I mean? So don't be too embarrassed about it. In November, I heard scratching in the attic. I'm from Oklahoma, and I grew up in the country. I'm accustomed to critters. I thought, well, that sucks. But the landlady, V, did warn us about the raccoons.
Raccoon.
They got little hands.
They do. They're little thieves. But now our dog, Biscuit, is a lazy fart. She is she is demure. She is unbothered. She is not going to do anything she doesn't want to do. And usually the things she does want to do involve food.
Nice.
I love
Well,
that.
at 10 years old, she deserves every bit of that.
Yes.
I
Good for
agree.
Biscuit. Biscuit, our guiding light, our unflappable, fluffy friend, lost her goddamn mind. And I thought, huh? Because let me tell you, Biscuit has learned her lesson about raccoons. Have you seen the raccoons in Central Park? They're basically the size of a medium dog. They have thumbs and they are legion.
It's facts.
That is true. So that was weird, but whatever. Landlady sent someone to take a look. They didn't find anything, but left some traps for us. In December, I was getting a bit prickly. When I first met JJ, he couldn't remember to shut a drawer door or cabinet to save his life. It's been years.
I do that.
Yeah, because you both have ADHD. So
It's a common symptom of ADHD because
true.
I feel much more comfortable when all the drawers and cabinets are open
that's
because I want to be able to see where
Yes.
everything is at all times.
well, it's because if you can't see it, it doesn't exist to y'all.
That's
so
true.
it's
I cannot tell you how much food we throw away because it's in a drawer in my refrigerator.
it's like that. It goes into the drawer and it never comes back.
It never comes back. Years later, we're like, what is this? I think it was a cucumber.
No. But
Anyway, back to the...
yes.
Applejack said, "Did she go Limp Biscuit?"
I'm sure she did. It sounds like it. But It's been years since this that was an issue, but okay, his night terrors have been worse. He's more forgetful lately. Maybe his ADHD is really active. Initially, he just kept leaving the closet door open. Slightly annoying, but no big deal. And then he kept leaving drawers open. The last straw for me was leaving the kitchen cabinet doors open. The way our house is laid out, if the cabinet door closest to the kitchen archway is left open, you will absolutely smack your face into it if you're not paying attention. By the third or fourth time, I was starting to get a little pissed.
So now we're talking cabinet doors being opened, and a letter that follows one that said that the cabinet doors were left open.
Exactly. There's a trend here. 3 things happened in January. The first one, Biscuit, who chose to sleep in our guest bed despite the big expensive dog bed in our bedroom, started to wake up around 2 a.m. and bark. It was always 1 or 2 big barks, and then she would come prancing into our bedroom like the diva she is and go to sleep in her bed. It was irritating, but I love her, and I assume she was letting the local raccoon population know that they could have our trash but not our house. The second, I finally lost it with the open doors and cabinets. JJ insists he isn't leaving them open. He thought I was leaving them open, which doesn't make any sense because I would never. The third, a little past 2 a.m., JJ and I were watching a horror movie on the couch. There is a clear view of the dining room from the couch. On top of the dining room table, there is a pile of reusable grocery bags with a small paper bag resting at the very top. I heard the bag move and thought, weird, must be a draft. JJ, who saw the bag in action, did not think it was a draft. He jumped up and started saying, nope, 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 on repeat. Biscuit, our unruffled old curmudgeon, was extremely ruffled. So ruffled that she ran with her dog father straight to the porch. I've never seen her move so quickly, not even for chicken jerky.
Wow.
I gotta know what kind of dog Biscuit is.
I need to see Biscuit.
Yeah.
It's
Biscuit.
Yes. Oh, yeah. But I sighed somewhat begrudgingly and followed them outside. Here's the thing. I ingest a lot of horror. I know the rules. Together, we walked to the end of the property, and JJ told me what happened. The paper bag lifted straight up, crumbled, and dropped to the table like a bowling ball. Seemed benign to me, but if he believed it was haunted, we'd act like it was haunted. I would update V, the landlady, in the morning, but we would speak no more about it. If you think it's there, it isn't. Don't give it attention. That's
Fair.
a great way to live your life.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't want to continue having them. But February rolled around and life moved on. I slept less and my forehead maintained a light bruise from walking into kitchen cupboard doors. You're dragging JJ and it's kind of hilarious. Yeah. JJ's anger and inattention increased. Biscuit vacillated from dragon to scaredy cat and chose to spend most of her time outside. During our nightly routine, while locking up, JJ swears he sees a shadow run up the stairs. He ignores it but texts me about it later. I roll my eyes. In the middle of February, I catch pneumonia. I have an autoimmune disease, so it was taking a while for me to recover. We decided to watch or rewatch, in my case, the Blackwell Ghost series. 10 out of 10, one of my favorites. It's a great movie. A little past 2 a.m., in the middle of movie 3, Biscuit, sweet imperturbable Biscuit, loses her ever-loving mind. JJ races up the stairs while I recline on the couch with congested, bated breath. In his words, he runs up to the guest bedroom to see Biscuit facing east, hackles up, growling and barking. Once he makes it into the room, she turns west toward the window and continues to unleash puppy hell. He tries to calm her down. She's shaking, really giving it her all. JJ turns on the light, and strangely, the blinds are hanging funny. They're pressed against the window like something is leaning against them. Holy shit, he says, which I hear from downstairs. The blinds release, settling back into their normal shape. Biscuit and JJ hurtle down the stairs, one white as a sheet. I shake my head at JJ to say nothing. I know we won't be finishing the movie. We all sleep in the living room.
Wow.
At the beginning of March, we left on vacation, Jamaica, if you're curious. It was incredible. I am so tan. What a relief to be out of the house. A few days after our return, I had an appointment in Manhattan. I was running late for the train and flying around the house in an attempt to get my life under control. Biscuit was content to watch unperturbed from the couch. Biscuit, despite her focused lethargy, is a very smart dog. Half golden retriever, a quarter husky, and a quarter mystery dog.
Okay.
See, I was picturing a small dog.
I was
picturing
too.
a small dog, too.
I was picturing a fawn pug, but I like this.
Like a Scottish Terrier myself.
Yes. And so she can be quite clever in her pursuit of sustenance and joyful indolence. She has 4 buttons: hungry, which she presses incessantly; play, which languishes sadly by her toy box; outside, which sits by the back door; and inside, which sits outside by the back door. As I'm puttering around the house, always and forever looking for my left shoe, which Biscuit carries away in her 3 seconds of excitement when we get home, I hear a sound, kind of weird but not alarming. I wander to the kitchen for water. I hear it again. Inside. Pause, pause, pause. Inside. Deep into my thoughts, I peer out the open back door. Nothing. The hair on my arm is raised to full attention, but my brain hasn't quite caught on yet. I walk to the living room. There's Biscuit gazing at me dolefully. Inside, the other shoe drops. Eyes wide, I slowly walk back to the kitchen, edge my way to the back door. Nothing is out there. Nothing. Inside. My heart stopped. I mean, literally, I wear an Oura ring, and I was tachycardic for the next 10 minutes. My BPM jumped to 136. I slammed the door, locked it, and absolutely did not run, but walked very quickly to the car. I felt so bad about leaving Biscuit, but any of us were equipped to handle it for a day. If anyone was going to, it was her. Here's the thing. I never locked the back door. It annoys JJ to death, but I can't be bothered. That's how worried I was. Once on the train, I updated our landlady, who at this point was pretty concerned. She's very involved with the local Catholic church and wanted to set up a blessing ASAP. We agreed, and she said she would bring over holy water and rosaries when we got home later that night. After a very long day, we did eventually make it back. As usual, Biscuit met us at the door, picked up my left shoe, and carried it away. Unusually, it was a bit cold. Odd. I thought, not good. I thought. We turned the corner into the kitchen, and very not good indeed. The back door was wide open. I must admit, this was the moment I started reevaluating my life choices. I think I must have made a noise or had a look on my face because JJ took my hand and we sat on the porch. I actually did lock the door this time, I told him balefully. V arrived not long after. I love this woman. I am ready to nominate her for sainthood. She showed up with holy water and rosaries blessed by the local deacon that afternoon. She blessed me, JJ, and Biscuit before we went through the house, blessing every window and door. We hung rosaries on the front and back door, said some prayers, and hoped for the best. The next day, V let us know that a father from a nearby parish would come by on the following Tuesday to bless the house. Things calmed down. We only had 1 or 2 incidents. Biscuit neither ruffled nor perturbed. The inside button only went off once. We had our house exorcism without issue. Things have been okay. We realized while going through these events that most activities seemed to happen upon our return to the house. In November, we returned from Thanksgiving in New Jersey. In December, from visiting my parents in Oklahoma. In January, from a weekend trip. In February, from days in class or at work. And in March, from a long vacation. There seemed to be some resistance to our presence. From January to March, our vacuum broke, our dryer had to be replaced, our car blinker went out, our Roomba broke, and then our car door fell off. Coincidence? Intentional? Cursed? I have no idea. The good father said it was a demon, and I kept expecting to see something terrifying around every corner. I'm thankful that hasn't happened. I'm super thankful nothing ever went on in our creepy basement. As a listener to the podcast, I'm interested in getting your take. Yours, Paige, JJ, and Biscuit. P.S. Just in case I took the batteries out of the inside button. I took the batteries out of the inside button and threw the button away. Attached is an ad for a house like ours and pictures of Biscuit.
Yay.
Okay, hold on. Let me see.
Oh, there were photos.
I guess so. Let
All
me
right.
see.
Here, I'll get it, Maddie.
Okay, great.
Yep.
So yeah, as the story was unfolding, it did seem like a demonic infestation.
I
It
agree.
definitely started to sound more and more like classic signs of a spirit trying to emotionally manipulate you, like the aggression, the anger that you kept feeling, all those things. That's very common with this form of entity because it is looking to sort of weaken your resolve, to make you more and more accepting to the condition of being agitated, angry, all these negative feelings and negative sensations. A lot of people think that a demon climbs up inside you and then like takes over the body. That isn't what happens, and it's very difficult because that's the way it externally looks. It looks like, oh, you've been possessed by a demon, meaning
Right.
there's a demon driving the train. The truth of the matter is the demon is trying to get you to make these decisions. It's trying to exhaust you to the point at which you are willingly being a part of these dark deeds and dark thoughts. You're entertaining them. And so it's not, you're being overwhelmed is a better way to say it. You're not being possessed. You're being bullied. You're being overwhelmed until you acquiesce, until you go along. Because that's what the demon wants. The demon doesn't want your body. The demon wants to corrupt your spirit and make you think and do things that are contrary to your own nature. They want you to turn cruel. They want you to turn angry. They want to exhaust you. And so when you get these ideas that, oh, well, the demon was inside her and we had to get the demon out of the body, it's more about the oppression, the constant unbalance that is created. And I think that it's very likely that that's what was going on. You had something that was trying to manufacture angst and anger and aggression. And the fact that your dog picked up on it and was a participant in it, it was being tormented in the same fashion. All three of you were growing more agitated,
Right.
more interactive with that sensation and those dark sensations and dark feelings. That does sound very demonic.
I completely agree with that. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it understood what was going to irritate all of you.
Right. It was
you
pushing buttons like
it
crazy.
was. It literally pushing buttons.
Didn't you guys have a similar
We did.
Talking button story?
We did. Yeah, we a long time ago. Oh,
That's
Biscuit's
Biscuit.
beautiful.
I love. Biscuit has the husky eyes. I love it.
Biscuit is a beautiful dog.
Yes. Oh my goodness, she can have all the treats she wants. You can give her a treat for us. But yeah, we had an experience where we were trying to teach Argyle, our little silky terrier, who is she has a human brain inside of a dog body, and so we were like, oh, I bet she would be able to understand the button thing, and we could teach her to do to say all these things. And we were a little concerned that she was going to use it to be mean to us, but nonetheless. So we had one that was like, feed me. And it had, at the time, we had like this rolling cart that our microwave sat on top of, and it had slid underneath the cart. So nobody could get it unless like we personally went down there and pulled it out. And so we would be sitting in the living room and we would just hear, feed me, feed me, feed me.
Oh, yeah.
Like relentlessly. And it was so creepy.
That video's on Patreon. Like, if
It
you go
is.
back really far, it's on
And
Patreon.
even the notion that it says feed me, I mean, that's
Yeah.
actually a very creepy thing
Oh,
for,
yeah.
for a spirit to be, feed me.
We threw it away very quickly. It's, yeah, because she didn't like it anyways. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I think you guys did the right thing with getting the house blessed. And maybe it's a good thing to get it, blessed regularly.
Sure.
And also, I think it was interesting that all of this happened in the coldest months
Absolutely.
in New York.
Yeah.
So that could have been a little bit of a part of it, just because we like to think that in the cold, spirits are more active because they are having to pull more.
Right. They don't have the ambient energy of heat. They'll come after you because
Exactly.
you're the energy source.
Exactly. But yeah, that was an insane story. And
It really,
honestly,
truly was.
Paige, you need to be, if you're not already an author, you need to be an author because
Absolutely. That was
you're
really well constructed.
very well constructed.
It was great.
Yeah. I could picture everything. So I love
I know.
it.
I have a pretty solid vision of it too.
Yes. But yeah, that was fantastic. That was a bunch of really great stories.
Yeah. Oh, this is an awesome episode. I'm lit. And Pair of Junkies, if you're live right now, you're watching us live right now, don't go anywhere. You're actually going to see the switch from the most haunted city on earth from one to Wicked
Yeah.
live. So
Yes.
yeah.
So yeah.
Great episode.
Yeah, thank y'all so much for sending in your ghost mail. If you have a ghost story you would like to send to us, you can send it to ghostmail@hauntedcitypodcast.com. And yeah, also, if you have ghost photos, you can submit it for our other segment, which is Ghost Caught on Camera. Just make sure that if you're sending it for Ghost Caught on Camera to put it in the subject so that we know which one it's for.
So we're not showing like a picture of Biscuit. And going,
Exactly.
Hey,
Yay!
there's the ghost.
I
Good
mean,
ghost.
honestly, we could sit here for an hour and just show a photo of Biscuit, and that would be okay.
Oh, yeah.
Biscuit's a good baby. But all right, y'all, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. And with that, my name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And stay spooky, y'all.